If you're a real estate photographer, there are two different types of photos that you can take for your client, HDR and flash. But what's the difference and which one should you use? HDR photos are typically 3 to 5 bracketed images where you're shooting the darkest image and you're shooting the brightest image and you are combining and blending them together in Photoshop. A lot of times when you're going into a house, you're going to have a window. You want to make sure you can expose for the window. So you take that darkest image and then you obviously want to expose for the room. So you take the brightest image. Typically it's +2 stops and -2 stops, depending on if the house is very well lit. Sometimes you don't need to do 5. Typically 3 is good enough, but you want to make sure you have an underexposed, a middle, and then an overexposed shot. You can evenly blend the image together. The thing about HDR is it also doesn't take as much time. So typically you can shoot a house in probably 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the size of the house, and it just goes a lot faster. So if you're shooting multiple houses in a day, I would definitely recommend HDR just because you're going to get in and out of the house a lot quicker. The downside to HDR is the color accuracy. Sometimes this can be an issue. When you shoot a house and you are shooting on wood cabinets, wood floors, wood cabinets can be one of the biggest nightmares that real estate agents and photographers can have, because a lot of times when you're shooting, you're going to have a lot of yellow saturation from the lights that are in the kitchen. A lot of times it's the overhanging lights above the island that are just really bright yellow. And what happens is light bounces off, it bounces onto the cabinets and sometimes onto the floor. With HDR, you're not always getting the most accurate color accuracy, and sometimes it can be a struggle to bring back the color and basically kind of mask out the really bright yellow in the saturation for the cabinets, and it can be tricky. So sometimes that can be a downside to things, especially if you're shooting during the day. Sometimes you'll notice on the floor, you'll kind of get this like bluish tint on the floor to where the sun is like beaming on that floor and it looks really overexposed. It looks blue sometimes. So there are some setbacks with it. If you're looking to get in and out of a home, HDR is a great way to go. Flash photography is actually very similar. They call it flambient in the real estate photography world, but it is just essentially flash photography. So the difference is you are still taking 3 to 5 images and you are still blending them together, but the difference is you're using a flash. So instead of just, taking a -2, -1, you are essentially taking an ambient shot, which is a perfectly exposed shot, and then you're taking a flash, which is on one side of the room, and then another flash on another. You're taking that into Photoshop and you're blending the flash shots together and the ambient shot. So you're kind of getting the natural lighting and the flash lighting and blending it in to make it look like an even image. The pros to flash is probably the color accuracy. So when you are shooting on cabinets, you're able to essentially get rid of the saturation, because when the flash is taking the photo, you are simply flattening out the image and getting rid of all the yellow unnecessary light. So it's a more true tone color, the shadows, especially on cabinets and floors. You'll notice that in flash photography, much like wedding photography, you're isolating the image, and that happens a lot when you're shooting the cabinets. You'll notice that when you're shooting the cabinets, all the other exterior lights don't show up in the flash shot because it's overpowering. The flash is overpowering all the other lights that are shining on the cabinets. You want to make sure that you are getting color accuracy, especially in cabinets. I think it's kind of like a giveaway sign of how well a real estate photographer is doing in terms of his photos, when you can look at cabinets and say, hey, those look pretty true tone color, like that's the color accuracy looks really good on them. It's a simple giveaway. The other thing with flash photography is you'll notice on furniture, especially leather, it really pops a lot more when you're using flash versus HDR. HDR is like a flat image. You're not using any light sources to light the couch or anything like that. You're just using your camera and the light that's coming in the room. With flash, you are adding another light source, so you can light a couch a little bit brighter and make it stand out a little bit better. Flash photography is what the more premier listings are using. It is a more premier product. That is 100% the truth. HDR photos can look really good, but when you do get to those big listings, a lot of times they are gonna want some type of flambient shots in there. I do know that they obviously still use HDR, but I've noticed a lot of the bigger listings, the people that I've talked to that shoot those types of listings, they're always looking for flambient. So it is a much more premier product. So if you're a real estate photographer and you're looking to kind of build your skill set and add another skill set to your tool belt, look into flash photography, learn it. It's super simple. You can go on YouTube, you can learn how to do it in a day. That's what I did. And I just practiced in my room and I just practiced blending it in Photoshop. It is a more premier product. It will take you longer, but I think overall you're going to be really happy with the results once you are able to nail the editing of it. But like I said, if you're looking to get in and out of a home, HDR is a great way way to go. And 95% of homes that are shot are probably going to be done HDR. For the most part, you're probably never going to know. But if you do want to start getting into the higher luxury listings, definitely start learning Flamient. But it really comes down to you. What is your preference? Do you want to make more money? Do you want to find more opportunities? That's just my opinion. But you decide.